So this weekend, the Detroit Auto Show, the biggest confab for the auto industry, kicks off on Sunday. Antony Currie, you'll be there.
Yep.
Some of the things you're going to be looking for, we've got a few new CEOs in the car business who are going to be walking around, showing their wares, swaggering a bit. Who
the one to look out for is Mary Barra, who's taking over as Chief Executive of General Motors, the first time a woman has run that company, or any major automaker, certainly in America. She is coming on board just after, don't forget, GM has finally got rid of all US government support in its shares, which also means, of course, she is the first CEO in years who's going to be paid a proper salary. They should be free of TARP at some point soon.
Actually, do we know how much she's getting paid?
Not yet. I don't think that's come out yet.
Okay.
No. So we'll be waiting to hear that. I doubt we'll hear that news this week. But
she's been a long time in.
She's been there for years. She's had a lot of different roles. She's an engineer by training. She even spent a bit of time in human resources. Has a great reputation for cutting through the wheat and the chaff and making sure that costs are under control.
Do we think she's going to change the strategy? I mean, it doesn't seem like
strategy.
That's
there's not a huge strategy change to make. I think it's more probably about making sure that they continue to get what Akerson and others, the former CEO and others, have put in place. So it's a bit like what Ford has done. Let's make sure that more cars are made on one single platform, which cuts costs. And Dan Akerson has been on record several times in the past year saying, look, we're in the early innings of this, maybe third, maybe fourth, and you make those numbers up as much as you want.
Mullally recently, just this week, came out and made it pretty categorical. He's hanging out for a little bit, not going to Microsoft, which, God, that's a good idea on his part. Mark Fields is sort of the heir apparent.
Mark Fields was made CEO about a year and a half ago, year and a half ago. He'll be around at the show as well. In fact, most of the executives will be walking around. They put on a good show for making sure everyone's visible. He's been doing a pretty good job so far. They had a little bit of a blip where last month they announced that their sales in the future might not be quite as good in the US. But they're running really well. They've got a good pre-tax margin, far better than people would have expected before all the crises of 5 years ago. They're just hitting a couple of speed bumps along the way. So,
and Sergio Marchionne, the head of Fiat and Chrysler, he's got a bit more swagger in his step. I mean, they've done their deal.
Now they've sorted out their deal. They now will own very soon the entirety of Chrysler. So we're not expecting to have any big issues on that anymore. I think that's all done and dusted. Now it's about how to integrate the two together, how to get Fiat turning around better. Of course, Europe is the big issue for a lot of these car makers. It's not that it's getting worse. It's just not particularly growing.
It's not getting better.
It still has a lot of
too much capacity
there. Of course, the big market everyone's focused on is China. That was the fastest growing market last year. It's up sort of 14-15% on sales, I think, far more than the US. It's now 22 million sales a year, bigger than the US. And everyone's in there. The US brands are doing well.
Including like 30 Chinese car makers.
Yeah, but don't forget, a lot of those are in joint ventures with US and European automakers. 60% of the market is governed by or taken by foreign brands. And GM's the biggest there. It's in a tussle with VW actually, I think, at the moment for the #1 spot.
So it's a Buick or a BMW if you're a Chinese.
Although Ford's Focus was the single biggest selling car in the market last year, and that's after several years of being an underperformer and now investing a fair whack in technology and in factories. So they're the ones who are the up-and-comers at the moment. And don't forget, the Japanese are still recovering in China after they had the island spat a couple of years ago with China.
Well, it was made better by Abe visiting the Yasukuni Shrine.
Of course, that really helped matters a lot.
Now, of course, this is happening in Detroit. Let's talk briefly about Detroit. Are you going to go to the art museum and see it's all before it's sold off?
I'm going to make sure they don't hawk it off while I'm there. Also, don't forget, if you haven't heard, in fact, they're filming Superman 2 there, the Batman versus Superman film. It's a $35 million given by the state to the companies making it.
So there'll be film crews around the vacant lots of
Well, they're going to start in the next couple of months, apparently. So we'll maybe look around and see where are Batman and Superman going to be duking it out. And a fair bit of money coming in for the city from that, just having people there spending.
So you're going to nerd out, not just about cars, but also about comics. All right, we'll have fun. We'll be back with more Breaking Views next week.